OK, well, that kind of brings us on to our next item, keeping warm. Can I ask about your bedroom habits, Carol?
No.
Don't worry, we'll keep it clean. Are you blanket or duvet?
Duvet every time, snuggled right up to my ears.
It feels like we're going to need it as well, aren't we, over the next few days? Carol, thank you very much indeed. Sorry, there is a reason for asking.
Yeah.
It's not just some... Yeah.
Yes, indeed. It is a staple of the bedroom. In fact, some of you, like Carol, might be tucked up in one right now. Well, not Carol right now, but you know what I mean. But 50 years ago, very few households in the UK had a duvet.
It was marketed as the 10-second bed. They became popular in the 1970s. So this morning, we're taking a look back through the BBC archives and we found one of the very first times that a duvet appeared on national television. Have a look at this.
Keeping warm in the winter is very important at any age, but it's even more important when you're a bit older. So throughout this series, we'll be coming up with a few ideas on how to keep warm in the winter. And to kick off the little series, Irene's here to tell us all about duvets. And there she is in kip, as lovely and as clean and friendly as Bexhill-on-Sea.
Isn't he a cheeky monkey? Well, this is a duvet. It's a continental quilt, and you use it on the bed instead of blankets, in other words, on top of the bed. Now, this duvet is as warm as 3 or 4 blankets, and it's much, much lighter. And as it is so warm, you won't need a top sheet or blankets on it, so it's advisable to have a cover on your duvet to keep it nice and sweet and clean. Now, you can buy these. They're in pretty colours, like this. Or, if you think that's a bit extravagant, there's nothing to stop you making one out of, say, 2 old sheets, stitched together on 3 sides, like a great big pillowcase. And on the 4th side, you can have either a zip, or buttons, or ties to keep it on.
Hope you found that useful, everybody. That from the days when duvets weren't even known. The continental quilt.
Continental quilt, that's what we used to call it. Oh, should we speak now to Professor Deborah Sugg-Ryan, a historian who specialises in British design. Good morning to you. I can't believe that in the 70s that's when the continental quilt was really introduced. I know it was a little bit earlier, but that's when everybody got to know about them.
Yeah, I mean, they really became popular in the 70s, having been brought to Britain in the 60s by Sir Terence Conran through his habitat shops. He'd seen duvets in Scandinavia and thought they were very much about kind of easy modern living. And so this idea of the bed you can make in 10 seconds was something he was really keen to have as part of the habitat offer.
And I guess it was a lot of it to do with convenience, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, loads of convenience, because if you think about making the traditional bed with sheets and blankets, it's quite a laborious thing. And I can remember being made to make my bed every morning, and I got my first continental quilt in 1979, age 14, and it was a real revelation, this idea of the bed you could make in 10 seconds, and it really modernised the bedroom.
And was it seen, I mean, I still love this phrase, continental quilt. I mean, is that to do with the origins? Was it a slightly risque, you know, thing that the Europeans did, or the other Europeans did?
Yeah, I think Conran, who used that term when he first marketed them, he really wanted those kind of European associations of easy living and, dare I say, sexiness as well. If you look at the photos in the Habitat catalogues, there's a famous photo that caused a lot of controversy of a couple on a mattress on stripped floorboards, and they're under a quilt, and it's very obvious that they're completely naked. So there's this sort of sexiness as well, along with all the kind of implications of being modern.
I would love to hear from people watching this morning if you have resisted the duvet for 50 years and you're still sticking with the blankets. There must be people out there who do you ever do blanket?
No, I don't. I mean, I wonder, Doctor, do you remember the first time you had... Do you remember the duvet, or do you remember the pre-duvet days?
I absolutely remember the duvet because it coincided with moving house. After my parents got divorced, we moved to a smaller house, and my sister and I had to share a bedroom. So there were a lot of arguments about how to have the bedroom. And we had, for the first time, continental quilts, and they had Marks and Spencer's covers that some people will remember this design. It looked like patchwork in shades of pink and beige, and it was such a revelation. And we had matching curtains as well, and I think this is one of the things that's interesting about the duvet is that you can change the decor of your bedroom very easily, and of course as well it brings in lots of opportunities for marketing for things like cartoon characters and branding on your quilt. So it had an immense impact on me.
You were posh, Deborah. You were posh.
Well,
I mean, there was a kind of class element to this, wasn't there, at the time in the 70s? It was a very kind of middle-class, aspirational thing to have a duvet.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't have ours till 1979, so by that and you know, Marks and Spencer's was deemed posh as well. So I think really they become more widespread once they start getting into places like Littlewoods and British Home Stores. And in fact, often you had to buy them in the early days by sending off for an advert in a newspaper or a magazine. Remember all the little black and white small ads you used to have? So they were a mail order thing before they hit the shops.
I was trying to explain to my children who are teenagers yesterday the concept of the no duvet and the blankets and sheets. They couldn't quite get their head around it, which just shows how much we've changed.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very different experience, I think, of sleeping because, and it's something, you know, the British did resist, and that feeling of being encased by blankets and sheets is very different to being able to kind of kick off a duvet.
Deborah, I never knew there was so much to know about duvets and what they tell us about our recent history. Thank you very much indeed, Professor Deborah Sugg-Ryan, design historian.
Thank you. And wasn't it fantastic seeing that archive? I love watching archive like that. Yeah. You can find out loads more incredible clips from over the years on the BBC Archive website. You can see the address there, www.bbc.co.uk/archive. There's an absolute treasure trove on that.
Paul has just been in touch and said he had a duvet before the 70s. In the late 60s, he said he was at boarding school in Scotland and we had them there. How progressive we were, he says.
An early adopter.
And we called them the Slumberdowns.
There you go. Not quite as catchy as duvet, is it?
They'll catch on.